He assumed the alien woman merely sought warmth in his tent, but was far more than that. The relentless rain pounded against Aiden Butler's expedition tent, each droplet adding to nature's symphony of discomfort. Sitting by the campfire, partially shielded by a makeshift shelter of branches and leaves, he watched the flickering flames while sipping hot coffee from his thermos. The alien forest around him hummed with peculiar sounds, creating an eerie, otherworldly atmosphere that both thrilled and unsettled him. As an interstellar explorer and xenobiologist for the Terran Scientific Corps, Aiden was accustomed to solitude in unfamiliar environments. His expedition to the newly discovered planet HD 742c had already produced intriguing findings. The local flora displayed exceptional properties, and the planet's atmospheric conditions were surprisingly similar to Earth's, making it a promising candidate for future colonization. Despite the wilderness, Aiden maintained a neat appearance. His brown hair was trimmed and styled, though damp from the steady drizzle. His well-groomed beard caught droplets of water that occasionally fell from the shelter above. His beige khaki gear, designed specifically for such harsh conditions, kept him comfortable despite the unfavorable weather. A sudden rustling from the tree line caught his attention. Years of field work had sharpened his instincts, and every fiber was being screamed that something or someone was watching him. His hand instinctively moved toward the pulse pistol at his side, but he forced himself to remain composed, exuding an air of calm. The rustling grew closer. Aiden tense, bracing for whatever was about to emerge. What he saw, however, was the last thing he expected. A humanoid female figure with pale green skin that seemed to glow in the firelight. Her light-colored hair cascaded in soft waves down her back, and her form-fitting black leather outfit was completely unsuitable for the weather. "Holy!" Aiden muttered under his breath, momentarily forgetting his training as he stared at the alien woman. She was stunning in an exotic, otherworldly way that made his heart pound. She approached the fire with effortless grace, her striking amber eyes locking onto his. "Your fire," she said in perfect English, her voice melodic and soothing, sending a shiver down his spine. "It is warm." Aiden blinked in surprise. "You speak English?" A subtle smile formed on her lips. "We have studied your kind for some time." She gestured toward the fire. "May I?" Still gathering his thoughts, Aiden shifted to make room under the shelter. "Of course." As she sat, he noticed her skin wasn't just pale green. It had lighter patterns, like delicate veins of marble running through it. "I'm Aiden Butler, xenobiologist with the Terran Scientific Corps." He introduced himself. "I am Larxa," she replied simply, extending her hands toward the warmth of the flames. Water droplets slid off her leather outfit, which clung to her curves in a way that forced Aiden to avert his gaze. "You're not dressed for this weather," he observed, striving to keep his tone professional. Larxa's amber eyes met his, something unreadable flickering within them. "Perhaps not," she said softly, "but sometimes discomfort leads to interesting situations." She paused, her gaze unwavering. "Your tent looks much warmer than my current accommodations." Aiden swallowed hard. Was she implying what he thought she was? "Are you asking to stay the night?" "Would that be inappropriate?" she asked, her tone carrying an air of innocence, as though she was genuinely unsure. Her words clashed with her demeanor, adding to confusion swirling in Aiden's mind. No, he said quickly, perhaps too quickly. "I mean, it would be cruel to leave you out in this weather. I have spare blankets and—" "Thank you," she interrupted, standing fluidly. "Shall we?" As Aiden led her to his tent, an unsettling feeling gnawed at him. He couldn't shake the sense that this encounter would either be the most fascinating scientific discovery of his career, or the biggest mistake he'd ever make. Possibly both. Inside the tent, the atmosphere thickened with unspoken tension. Aiden focused on arranging the sleeping bags and thermal blankets, his movements mechanical as he tried to keep his thoughts in check. Larxa's presence loomed behind him, her softly glowing skin illuminating the tent just enough to cast eerie, ethereal shadows on the walls. "Your species is fascinating," Larxa said, settling gracefully onto his sleeping bag. So concerned with propriety, yet capable of such passionate intensity when the moment calls for it. Aiden turned toward her, struggling to maintain his composure despite the intimacy of the moment. You seem to know a lot about humans. Are you an anthropologist? Amusement twinkled in her amber eyes. Something like that. I am an evaluator for the Galactic Council. We study emerging species to assess their readiness for integration into the greater galactic community. Aiden's mind raced as the weight of her words settled in. Wait, you're saying there's an organized galactic civilization out there, and we're being evaluated? Larxa leaned forward, the creak of her leather outfit breaking the silence. Every species must be assessed before first contact. We look for certain qualities. What kind of qualities? Aiden asked, his focus slipping as her proximity affected his senses. Her scent, sweet, exotic, with an underlying hint of rain, lingered in the air. Compassion, adaptability, emotional intelligence. She reached out, tracing a finger along his jawline, sending a jolt through his system. The capacity for genuine connection. Aiden's breath hitched. He caught her hand, his pulse quickening. And this is part of your evaluation? Seducing random scientists in the wilderness. Larxa chuckled, the sound like wind chimes in a soft breeze. Nothing random about it, Aiden Butler. Her free hand rested gently on his chest. You were chosen. Your psychological profile suggested you'd be an ideal candidate for this phase of the assessment. Phase! His voice came out rougher than intended. The most important phase, she whispered, her face mere inches from his. Testing humanity's ability to form emotional bonds with other species. Your reaction to me, your willingness to help despite potential risks, your ability to see past physical differences, these are crucial indicators. Aiden's mind spun with the implications. So this is all just research to you? She hesitated. It was supposed to be, she admitted, her voice laced with emotion he hadn't expected. But it's different now. The way you look at me, not as a specimen nor as an object of desire, but as a person. It's affecting my judgment. The rain continued its rhythmic drumming on the tent, enclosing them in an intimate cocoon. Aiden met Larxa's alien eyes and, for the first time, saw something that transcended species. A genuine connection that both excited and terrified him. Your heart rate has increased, she observed, her hand still on his chest. Are you afraid? No, Aiden answered honestly. Overwhelmed, maybe. It's not every day you find out you're part of an interstellar evaluation. She laughed softly. Most subjects don't learn about it until after. But I find myself wanting to be honest with you. Why me? Aiden asked, brushing a strand of her glowing hair from her face. Larxa hesitated. Because you see beauty in the unknown instead of fearing it. Because you study life not to exploit it, but to understand it. Because... She faltered. Because you make me question everything I've been taught about emotional distance. The air between them shifted, charged with possibility. And what happens now? Aiden whispered. In response, Larxa closed the distance, her lips meeting his, alien yet familiar, foreign yet natural. Their connection bridged a vast gulf between species, rewriting the rules of first contact forever, sinking into the space between them. The weight of what they had done settled in. The council would not be pleased. Aiden sat up, gently drawing Larxa closer. Hey, look at me, he said, trying to meet her eyes. I'm not sorry it happened. Whatever consequences come, we'll face them together. Her laugh was soft, tinged with both joy and worry. That's exactly the kind of response that made me break protocol. Humans are so resilient, so willing to face the unknown with courage. Aiden smiled slightly, trying to shift the tone. Speaking of the unknown, he said, any other biological surprises I should know about? I mean, I'm a xenobiologist, but I feel distinctly unprepared for all this. Larxa's skin flickered with what he now recognized as amusement. Well, there's one thing. She took his hand and placed it on her abdomen. A theory. Reproduction is highly efficient, especially with compatible species. Aiden's eyes widened as realization dawned. Are you saying the bond we form makes it possible? She nodded. My people can only conceive with species we form genuine emotional connections with. It's why we're so careful about intimacy. She watched his reaction carefully. Are you angry? Aiden let out a breathless laugh. Angry? I don't even know what I am. Shocked, terrified, amazed. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to grasp the magnitude of it all. I came here to study alien plant life, and now I might be a father to an interspecies child. It's a lot to process, Larxa admitted, and the council will see it as proof that I failed in my duty. They'll recall me, assign another evaluator, one who won't let emotions cloud their judgment. Aiden's gaze softened. And what about us? About? He gestured to her abdomen. That's why I'm telling you now, she said, sitting up fully, her expression serious, almost solemn. We have choices to make, and not much time. The council monitors all evaluators. When they detect a bond, and they'll send retrieval teams. It's standard protocol for compromise evaluations. Aiden felt a surge of protectiveness, his jaw tightening. They can't just take you away. Not now. Larxa's amber eyes glinted with defiance. They can try. But there's something they don't know, something that might change everything. Aiden raised an eyebrow. What's that? She took a breath. The preliminary results of my evaluation. Humanity isn't just ready for contact. You're essential to the galaxy's future. Aiden blinked. What? Your species has something we lost over millennia of technological advancement. The ability to love freely, without calculation or reservation. She touched his face gently. You reminded me what that feels like. Before Aiden could respond, his emergency scanner pulsed with an urgent warning. Larxa's skin flickered in alarm, patterns he was quickly learning to read. Her eyes widened. They're here. Already moving with fluid grace, she gathered supplies. Aiden quickly slipped on his expedition boots, his scientific mind racing even as adrenaline surged through his body. How much time do we have? Minutes, Larxa replied. Their retrieval ships are designed for stealth, but they can't mask their quantum signatures completely. Her leather outfit shimmered, adapting for rapid movement. There's something you should know about the Council's retrievers. They're engineered for their job. No emotions, no hesitation. Aiden secured his research data, his pulse pounding. Sounds charming. Any chance we can talk our way out of this? A sound like distant thunder rolled across the sky. Aiden knew better. Ships entering the atmosphere. They're not interested in talking, Larxa said, checking a device on her wrist that looked far more advanced than anything he'd ever seen. The Council believes emotional contamination is worse than physical violence. They'll cleanse me of our bond. She trailed off, her hand unconsciously moving to her abdomen. The implications hit Aiden like a physical blow. They'd terminate the pregnancy without hesitation. Larxa's expression hardened, but there was fierce determination in her eyes. But they'll have to catch us first. And they don't know what they're dealing with. Aiden's confusion deepened. What do you mean? A sly smile crossed her face. They sent retrievers designed to capture a standard of theory evaluator. But I'm not standard anymore. She took his hand, and Aiden felt a surge of energy pass between them. Our bond gives me access to human adaptability, human unpredictability. The thunder grew closer. Flashes of light flickered through the trees. And there's something else they don't know. What's that? Aiden asked, his heart racing. Larxa's smile deepened. I didn't just choose you for your emotional capacity. I chose you because you're the best xenobiologist in the Terran Corporation. Aiden stared at her. What does that have to do with anything? Your research on local flora and fauna might be our only chance. Understanding dawned. The bioluminescent fungi, the ones that interfere with advanced scanning equipment. Exactly. But we need to move. Now. They burst from the tent just as the first retriever ship became visible through the dense canopy, a sleek, dark vessel that absorbed light rather than reflected it. The chase that followed was unlike anything Aiden had ever experienced. The retrievers, when they finally glimpsed them, were humanoid but unmistakably artificial, chrome-skinned beings moving with mechanical precision. Their eyes glowed an eerie red, scanning relentlessly. Larxa proved to be an incredible partner in their escape. Her knowledge of Council technology paired perfectly with Aiden's understanding of the environment. Together, they used the bioluminescent fungi, to create false trails, exploiting the organism's interference with scanning systems. During a brief respite inside a hollow tree trunk, Larxa pressed close to Aiden, their breathing synchronized in the silence. "The bond is growing stronger," she whispered. Her skin glowed with patterns that mirrored his elevated heartbeat. "I can anticipate your thoughts almost before you have them." Aiden turned toward her, distracted by her proximity despite the dire situation. "Is that why it feels like we've been doing this together for years instead of hours?" She smiled, tracing a finger along his jaw, sending a shiver down his spine. "Partly, but it's also because you're exactly what I knew you'd be. Adaptable, quick thinking, unafraid." A retriever's heavy footsteps passed nearby. They held their breath, barely daring to move. When the danger passed, Aiden exhaled. "We need to get to my research station." "Why?" "I have equipment there that can help us document humanity's unique qualities. If we can prove to the Council that emotional connections make us stronger, not weaker,